For years, one phrase echoed across the political corridors of Europe: the sick man of Europe. This title wasn't given to a small or powerless nation. It was branded onto the vast and ancient Ottoman Empire itself. And what's truly ironic is that even after standing beside Germany and achieving victory in the Great War, the wounds carved into the empire over decades did not heal. They grew deeper. With the war's end came a wave of Arab uprisings. External threats had decreased, but the internal burden on the empire refused to lighten. Unrest simmered everywhere. Rebellion flared in every direction. And from within this chaos, a new figure began to rise: Kemal. Kemal sought to reshape the empire with modern reforms in education, in the military, and in the administrative system. He wanted to pull the empire into a new era. But the old tribal structures, conservative traditions, and nationalist movements blocked his path at every turn. The empire stood at a crossroads. Multiple futures lay ahead. Should the absolute authority of the Sultan return? Should a new Republic of Turkey be created? Should an Ottoman Union Empire emerge? Or should power pass into the hands of Fevzi Pasha? Eventually, the choice was made. The path that promised the most stability, the direction that could protect the fragile economy and prevent diplomatic collapse. Looking inside the empire, the situation felt even heavier. Only 26 civilian factories, a fragile economy, an outdated army, and the infamous debuff still clinging to the state: the sick man of Europe. The military suffered a severe shortage of equipment. Provinces lay scattered across distant lands, and vassal states like Yemen and Ajman added extra pressure. On top of that came the ancient constitution, a slow agricultural economy, and widespread dissatisfaction. Yet amid all this instability, one solution still shone faintly: the Sultan's return to power. Kemal wanted to build a Western-style republic. But for the survival of the empire, it was decided that authority must return to the very center of Ottoman power: the Sultan. And so the day finally arrived. Kemal's reforms were halted, he was dismissed, and the empire began to move toward a new destiny. But this was only the beginning, because immediately afterward, the empire erupted like a volcano. Macedonia rose in revolt. Baghdad descended into bloody protests. Syria declared its independence. The Hejaz ignited. Iraq turned rebellious, and Kurdish regions plunged into chaos. The entire Middle East seemed to be burning. Oil prices shot upward like a rocket, and the army found itself fighting on multiple fronts at once. But after years of darkness, a thin beam of light finally appeared. Sultan Abdullah II crushed the uprisings one by one, regaining control, and the empire shifted its focus away from the west, toward new expansion in the east. Then Iran refused to accept our demands. War erupted, and when it ended, Iran stood fully absorbed into the empire. Pakistan also rejected our terms. Another war became unavoidable. The plan was bold but brilliant. Let the enemy step inside, and then encircle them from all sides. The strategy worked perfectly. Meanwhile, Britain came under immense pressure. Forced into a corner, it made a historic decision: to hand over 4 strategic Gulf states: Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain. The map of the empire was beginning to transform. Next came the great conflict with Greece and Afghanistan, because Greece had guaranteed Afghanistan's security. We took an unexpected step: a sudden naval invasion of Thessaloniki. The blow was so heavy that Greece couldn't recover, and Afghanistan, too, fell quickly. Both territories were incorporated entirely into the empire. Then our attention turned to Egypt. Resistance there was fierce, but eventually the gates of Cairo opened for the advancing Ottoman forces. The phrase, "the sick man of Europe," was no longer a living description. It was fading into a forgotten chapter of history. Yemen was conquered. Najd and Ha'il became submissive client states, and the Arabian Peninsula gradually fell under Ottoman influence. And then history witnessed a new turning point. A powerful regional alliance was born, the Constantine Treaty Organization. The empire was no longer just a single nation. It was a vast coalition, a unified bloc, a rising global power. Soon, we earned the prestigious Thousand Empire achievement. a recognition for unifying the Middle East and laying the foundations of an entirely new geopolitical order. The empire that was once mocked as the sick man was now marching confidently toward a new era of strength and revival.